What's up, everybody, and welcome to The Edge, showcasing the latest in logistics technology. So excited that you are with us today. Where you're watching the show from today, let us know in the comments. Throw in there where you're watching from. We'd love to see that and see who all is here with us today. Before we get started today, we got to say thank you to our title sponsor, the Menayer Group. Listen, my good friend Wasim Menayer, he is one of the best, if not the best, recruiters in supply chain and technology. He simplifies the process. He becomes an extension of your team. And man, his customers absolutely love what he does. So make sure you reach out to him at menayergroup.com. Again, menayergroup.com. Reach out to Wasim. Tell him you heard about him right here on The Edge from me, because the guy's great. You're going to love working with him. You're going to love getting a chance to talk to him. And he loves golf. So listen, if you love golf, at least you talk about that and have a good time talking about the upcoming Ryder Cup or whatever else that you want to talk about. So make sure you reach out to him and give him a shot at the next opening that you have. Again, he's all about supply chain and technology recruiting simplified. Also, before we get started today, there's a couple of news headlines out there in the tech world that we got to throw out there. The recent FreightWaves article talked about how Axim aims to empower trucking companies using big data. Listen, the truth is data is becoming key. It is becoming the monetary unit of the day. If you have data, if you have clean data, and you have usable, actionable data, that is so incredibly important. And so I love seeing that. I love seeing some of the companies out there that are helping companies do that. Enveo's doing a good job with that. Isometric Technologies is killing it in that field as well. So a lot of technologies out there that are doing a great job. But data really is king. Make sure that your data is clean. Make sure it's usable and actionable, and use some technologies out there to help you out with that. That's really, really critical, especially as you're evaluating new technology platforms. Also out in the ether, Estes is among some of the fleets to pilot Remorse carbon capture system. I love the technology here. I'm really curious to see how companies are going to be able to take non-green technologies like diesel and combustion engines and turn them into more green technologies. We'll see what happens with that coming up here in just a little bit. Also, got a couple of events that we're coming up soon. It is the start of trade show season. Before we talk about that, I want to tell you about an event coming up in 2 Saturdays. So I think that, let's see, today's the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 23rd. September 23rd, we have the Souk Strong Benefit Golf Tournament, raising money for ALS patients. Those that follow me know that this is something really important to me. We're going to be raising money for ALS patients directly, because end-of-life services for ALS is incredibly expensive and not covered by insurance. So if you have a heart for that and want to help us out, make sure you go to soukstrong.com anytime between now and September 23rd. Make a donation. It's tax deductible. We would greatly appreciate that. Also, it's trade show season coming up. Here's some places you can find me in the next 2 months. I'm going to be at McLeod User Conference September 17th through 19th in Phoenix, Arizona. Leave on Saturday for that one. That's going to be great to see my friends down there. The following week, I'll be in Las Vegas at the Trimble Insights Conference, September 24th through 27, followed right away by the 3PL Live User Conference. 3PL Systems, great platform out there for brokers, great TMS system. Go be at that. I'll be able to MC that event. That's going to be a fun event. For free, a chance. Followed in AI. When I'm out, it is and go never gonna happen. But this technology today, my good And this is what happens when you go live sometimes, folks. It just happens. Eric, what's up, man? How are you doing?
Hello. Good to see you. I'm doing well, Trey.
My internet today is deciding that it has having no part of this. It doesn't want to have this show at all, but we're going to plug right through, my friend. It's good
That's
to
right.
see you. I don't know if anybody heard anything at the beginning, but we are here right now, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Logistics is about improvisation when things go wrong. So here we are. We do our best, right?
This is one of the reasons that I love going live is because you really never know what's going to happen and you just have to flow with it. It's more about life than anything else. All right. It's not always polished. It's not always perfect, but hopefully it's powerful and effective. And we'll see how it goes. All right. So Eric, we got you on the show. We're super excited to have you on the show today to talk about what's happening over at Vendorflow, driver communications. But before we get to that, give us a little bit of a background of your story and how you got to this place of starting Vendorflow.
Yeah, well, the background goes way back, but I've been in tech for about 10, 12 years, seen a lot in various sort of venture tech background environments. Most recently and relevantly, though, the Vendorflow team, we came out of a company called Next Trucking, Los Angeles
Oh yeah, I remember
based,
that.
very
Yeah.
drayage focused, and we're product and engineering folks. We Vendorflow folks. And there we helped to build their TMS, their mobile app, and so on and so forth. Made a whole lot of observations about how a brokerage actually operates and the deep opportunity we'll see in communications. So those are the basics there. But we evolved a lot. We started out as this quote request thing, and then we realized there's a big opportunity in texting. We realized, on quoting and capacity, Parade's already doing a really good job, so that's fine. We'll let that be. But there's a lot of opportunity in communications, and here we are. And I'm excited to talk to you about it today.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, I'm thrilled to be able to show this off and to show off the technologies that are making an impact. So, looking forward to that in particular. What was it specifically about the problem that you wanted to tackle it? I mean, we see a lot of problems out there, but it doesn't mean we're going to chase after them. What was it about this one that was enticing for you to say, "Yeah, I'm going to go after that one"?
Yeah, no, I'd say it's twofold. We've observed in this industry, one is the mobile app fatigue for truck drivers. That there's a lot of these mobile apps out there. It's hard to get truck drivers to use them, especially when talking about owner operators. So we ask ourselves, how can we enable brokerages and other LSPs to engage these people where they are, channels they want to operate on, and then also the real theme that we'll be talking about together today is how there are these generic texting software solutions, Ring Central, Dialpad, Google Voice, and they're good at what they do. But we want to ask ourselves on this conversation together, what would it look like if there is a logistics built texting solution? What would that even be? What problems would that solve? What would that look like? That's what we're excited about digging in with you today.
Right. I mean, there's some technologies that you can just transfer into an industry and it'll work. Email would be one of those where, for the most part, you can just take any email program and it will work in the industry. But how about, driver communications? Does it work just to have a generic texting platform, phone platform to make that happen? We're going to jump into that and talk about that today. Before we do that, Eric, got to ask you a question. Are you a coffee drinker or a water drinker? We're going to send you one of these beauties for being on the show today. Which one would you like?
It's starting to get cold over here, so I'll take the coffee for sure. It's
Going for the coffee mug.
yeah,
Perfect. This will be on your way soon. We appreciate you being on the show, and I
appreciate
hope you'll sport that this winter. Are you a coffee drinker, hot chocolate drinker, hot tea? What's your drink of choice?
in my 20s, I was a Red Bull guy, and in my 30s, I became a coffee guy. So I got a little iced coffee going on in this cup over here.
Have you stopped drinking Red Bull? Is that off the table now?
Pretty much too sugary, and the diet thing is no sugar, but there's something going on in there, and I don't trust it. So I'll get a sip of coffee.
Very, very sugary. That's the truth. And it sounds like you have plenty of energy. You probably don't need too much caffeine to get through the day, which is good. A fun fact about me before we get started: I've never had an energy drink like a Red Bull or anything. Never had one of those, and I've never had a cup of coffee. Believe it or not, isn't that crazy?
Wow. Tea?
I like sweet tea. I'm a sweet tooth guy, so sweet tea and hot chocolate, those are my things. But
Okay, all right.
that's not what we're here to talk about. So we'll move on in that regard. Okay, let's talk about the Vendorflow story. So you got this problem. You're excited to try to attack it. What was the journey? What was the evolution of Vendorflow getting started? What did you start off with? Talk about the beginning of the journey, and then we're going to dive into the product.
Yeah, the beginning, which is way back in 2020, we ask ourselves, are there lower friction ways to engage people so they can get work done without having to necessarily log into big portals or install apps and so on and so forth? And the problem we've observed in this industry, again, these generic texting software, which I'll show you in a slide deck in a minute, they're divorced from the TMS. They're divorced from the core business processes. We think those should be orchestrating together, and we're here to help our customers with that. And whether they're using the Vendorflow product directly, or if it's we're supporting their success with Ring Central and Dialpad and those, there's a lot of ways that logistics folks can really upgrade the way they're texting with folks. So that's what we're excited to get into with you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, awesome. Well, the main question that we always ask when somebody comes on the program is, does it work? Does this technology work? Is it moving the needle? When you think about like what problems you're solving, talk about that, and then the aspect of how it's working. And if you want to jump into the demo, we can do that now, or we can wait just a minute. But what's the main problem you're solving, and how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is really about operational efficiency. So acknowledging that, yeah, there's these generic solutions that aren't well integrated with the TMS. If they were integrated with the TMS, the operational efficiency could be a lot better. In what way? By, for example, driving automation from the TMS to say, if this, then that. If the driver's not tracking, then fire this tracking request. If they haven't delivered the POD, send them a POD request. If the SOP requires that they take a picture of the seal on the trailer, that it's still intact, how can you send that to the driver when they need it in the lowest friction way for them to submit that data back? And so Vendorflow's job is not to just sit on that data, but to pass that data back to the TMS. So it makes your TMS more successful, and your investment in your TMS a lot more successful. That's what we're interested in. But there's, as you'll see, there are a litany of related problems in the industry, and a lot of kind of fun stories as well that you'll get into as well. If I could just roll into one, just for fun, if that's all right. In this industry, one facet is the carrier experience. And by that, I mean, we believe that brokers will be more successful when they reach carriers where they are, by the channels they like to use. What do I mean by that? Well, SMS is, of course, a basic standard. Beyond that, though, there's Android RCS, there's Apple Business Chat, there's WhatsApp, there's Telegram. There's one that I bet no one knows about, Kakao. That's the Korean one. Yesterday, so I've been in IANA, the intermodal related expo in Long Beach yesterday. Yeah. And a guy approaches me and he says, my ops team, we kind of have Google Voice, but the ops team is using a whole bunch of stuff because guess what? That's what the carriers like. So the carriers are using Telegram, he tells me. The carriers are using WhatsApp. The carriers are using Kakao. I don't know if we're going to support Kakao anytime soon. That's the Korean one because, well, they have a lot of Korean drivers. So it shouldn't be surprising that they're using that. And further, he's asking for, translation ability. Can I translate Korean? We've gotten requests about translating Spanish. So what I'm driving at is acknowledging that there's this big diversity of drivers, and why not be more accommodating to them? Why not give them a better experience when communicating with drivers in this way? So that's just one of many facets of texting that we're excited about.
Very cool. Well, let's jump into it. Why don't you share your screen and let's dig in and tell us about it.
Yeah, that'll probably be a better way to roll through it here. So let's see. I should be good. Yep. So I'll drop this down, and I'm going to do slideshow. And let me know when you can see a slide deck.
Yep, we got it.
Cool. I appreciate it. So let's roll into it. So again, Vendorflow, we came out of a freight brokerage, right? And we observed operations team, both for drayage and full truckload, they're booking shipments, they're exchanging documents, they're making appointments, all these different interactions in a very unstructured and manual fashion. This was a lot of the early bits of problem that we observed. We further observed that throughout the industry, there's been a lot of attempts to reduce the operational effort. One way to reduce the operational effort is if a driver just handles everything over a mobile trucker app. Another way that ops can save time is if shippers go to portals and they kind of self-serve through the portal to get a quote or to book a shipment or to check status, as opposed to calling and texting and emailing and asking. And these are good concepts, and there's certainly a good place for them in the industry. However, we find that they are a high friction and thus low adoption approach. In our experience, a lot of folks don't want to log into portals, don't want to install apps. And so the opportunity that we see is in texting by the stats. I mean, people prefer it, they respond faster.
Let me pause you there for a second, because I think this is really interesting. When I get a text message from a salesperson, I'm actually more likely to respond to that than an email. So especially if it's personal, like if it's personal. Now, some of them are weird, but if it's a good text message, I love communicating via text. And I think a lot of people are really gravitating towards that because it's just so much easier.
I've noticed that as well. It's easier, and texting is funny. It forces you to get to the point. You gotta keep it tight. And I think
brevity is king. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's just going to be the natural evolution of communication in the future in general. We think this texting, if you think of it as market share against email, we think that texting is going to win more and more market share over time in terms of how work's getting done and how communication is getting done.
Yeah, I'm curious for the audience to comment on this. Throw a comment in there, and how much do you like texting versus email? What do you prefer? Curious to hear what they have to say. All right, keep going, Eric.
Oh, I'd love to meet the guy who loves email. But no, understood.
So I think I'm married to his daughter. I think that's it.
There you go. Very good. Right. So one more fun fact here, though, is half of smartphones now have more than just SMS. They got WhatsApp, they got Telegram, they got Facebook Messenger, and even more. There's a lot of these new channels coming out that a lot of folks are spending their time on. And it's not just truck drivers. Well, yes, we're very focused on truck driver communication. We get requests from customers saying, hey, my customer is in China and they like to do everything over WeChat. How can you support us there? Or WhatsApp. So this comes up, and it's more than just truck driving, although I acknowledge that we are relatively focused on the driver experience.
Yeah,
One more thing I'm optimistic about, I just mentioned WeChat. So WeChat is the Chinese kind of super app, right? You could like see your doctor and then order a pizza and do your taxes all in one app. Right? All my favorite things in one day. Very good. Now, what we're observing, though, in the messaging industry is that these other channels are trying to catch up by offering new and advanced capabilities. What do I mean by that? Example, Android RCS. RCS is basically the spiritual successor to SMS, but it enables this low friction experience. In the chat, you can say, hey, how's your morning, blah, 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 and then hit them with a card and with an image and a prompt and a number of buttons. Let's get specific to logistics. Maybe you want to send automatically an appointment reminder to say, hey, here's where you got to be. Here's an image of the part of the yard you should be pulling into. Here's the prompt. And tap this if you're on time. Tap this if you're having a hard time entering the facility. Good. Now you have structure around this. And if they tap, I'm having a hard time, that can escalate to your support team and you can handle it, right? Same concept with any story you wish to write. Maybe it's, I want to offer them a shipment to say, here's the details, buy now or, reject or counter offer, right? So there's a lot of fun ways you can give people a button experience to give you structured responses back that can really programmatically work with your TMS. That's something we're excited about.
Keep going. I really like that, though, because I think it's more engaging than just text. I think that's much more engaging.
That's right. We think we see where the ball is going, and we're trying to bring that to the logistics industry as fast as we can. Apple Business Chat is a big opportunity as well, but similar spirit to this RCS example I just gave, so I'll keep it rolling. WhatsApp also. If I had room for one more, Telegram would absolutely be on here. We've talked to, it'd be, I don't want to be naming names over here, but top 50 brokers for sure. And they're like, you realize half of our texting is happening over Telegram with our carrier sales team. And it's like, wow, that is a big opportunity.
Did you say half? Over half?
Half. Wow. It's super popular in certain communities. But what's hilarious is you'll meet one broker and they'll say it's half. You'll meet another broker and they'll say, what's Telegram? It's super all over the place. Why though? Because these apps and channels tend to correlate with different groups. WhatsApp is super popular in like the Latin American community and the Indian American community. Yep. And Telegram is not so much racial, but it's like crypto people and other like generalizations that you could make. So it's super funny. And but if I were to bet on a horse, though, Telegram has been growing very rapidly, and we're very interested.
What's interesting, Eric, is like Telegram is one I haven't heard of.
Sure.
Cacao, I think it's the name of what you did. That one I haven't heard of that one either. So I mean, there's probably several more out that I've never even heard of before outside of like Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and I'm an iPhone guy, so SMS type stuff.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, don't worry about Cacao too much. That's very
I'm not going to need that one anytime soon.
Yeah, that's right. So how would Vendorflow characterize the reality today? What's the status quo today in logistics in the context of texting? We call this vanilla texting. Most logistics organizations are using vanilla texting products such as Google Voice, Dialpad, RingCentral. There's TextLine, there's TextUs, there's a whole bunch. And they're good at what they are as general texting solutions. However, what's the big problem? Well, you have an operations team. What are they doing? They're doing track and trace and document exchange, e-signature, cover and loads, all this stuff, a whole bunch of stuff. And these activities, however, are transpiring across texting and calling as well as the TMS, but those systems are not talking to each other. So you have all this activity, all this records happening on these systems that is totally offline, in the dark, under the table, not connected to the shipment in the TMS. We think that's a big problem. We further think that the TMS should be able to automate flows that could flow through your texting software to flow to the driver or the shipper or whoever they may be. That's a big opportunity. And further, users of texting software like RingCentral and the rest, they should be able to kick off these flows, kick off that track and trace request, kick off that e-signature request. They should be able to do it right there. Going back to the question again of what would it look like if we actually made texting software for logistics. So that's what we're kind of building up to here.
Yeah, I'm surprised that more TMS platforms have not taken this on, have not tackled texting. Are there some that do have texting integrated? I'm not aware.
Often, I would characterize it as a feature where, as a user on the TMS, you can push a text. And
Sure. Okay. But it's not really it's not embedded in the workflows in the TMS,
right.
Which is the need for services like Vendorflow.
Yeah, that's my point. That's right. But no, we see telephony and texting as a fundamental thing. Like, okay, you're going to start up a brokerage. What do you need? Well, you need TMS. You need phone, texting, and email. Those are the basics. And again, we think that those should work much more closely with the TMS. So that's what we're excited about. So let's go a little deeper into it. One thing that I have fun with, especially when I was new to this is back in 2021, let's say, I'd be going to TIA shows, been going for years now. But when I was new to it, I would ask people about texting, asking, a VP of ops at a brokerage, how are you doing texting? It's a vague question, I acknowledge. But the reaction would often be, I don't know, what's your point? Like, we do it. It's just texting. Like, what is there possibly to even be talking about? Well, and I'm here to say there's a lot of depth. If you think of it as an iceberg where, it's just texting, what could there possibly be? Let's go a little deeper, shall we? So one big opportunity, of course, is automation. You could be setting up your TMS in such a way that if this, then that. Again, if the driver is not track and tracing, then fire the track and trace request by way of text from your phone number, right? If you need this POD, then fire that reminder with an easy way for them to submit it back to you that maps back to your shipment, right? What about there's a lot of companies who invested a great deal in their matchmaking algorithm, right? To say, we're going to recommend this shipment to these 10 carriers. Well, good. Texting is a great opportunity to get that out there, to recommend loads to folks where they can book now in text. You're going to get really fast coverage on your shipments if you can push them out over text where all you got to do is tap. That's sort of like one-click purchase with Amazon. Try to bring those principles in here, right? So that's a big opportunity.
Pause on that for a second, because I want to dig into that. The speed of return is really critical here, because when I think about my own personal communications, if somebody emails me, I will eventually see it, but I don't know when, especially if it's my personal email, because I might look at it at night. I might have, 3 activities. I got to, hustle my kids around to those and that type of stuff, make dinner, whatever it is, where I may not get to it till the next day, but texting, I almost always see it right away. And can respond pretty quickly. I think that's really critical that people understand that the speed of response and the speed of communication goes up significantly with texting.
No, I appreciate you making that point. Yeah, email to me is homework. It's like, I got to do something. Texting is a little more fun. You can just react real quick and move on with your day. So I agree. Another concept source is driver safety. That's an opportunity in the context of texting. And you might think that's kind of contradictory. Well, texting and driving is certainly bad. Agree. But there's aspects here. You could push people buttons. Buttons, as far as we can tell, do not constitute texting and driving. To send someone a button to simply say, I arrived, or I'm good to go, or I'm on track, or whatever the case may be, share location, right? That's one concept. Also, you could program in. Instead of hoping that drivers aren't texting and driving, you could protect yourself as a brokerage to append automatically little reminders that say, hey, just periodically remind them, don't text and drive. Don't hope that your team reminds them. Have it be a programmatic thing that occasionally reminds them to not text and drive.
Stay safe on the road. We care about you. Want you to get home.
Right.
Get back to us when you stop.
That's right. That's right. And all that is absolutely a concept, including logic for you can integrate with ELD to determine when they're stopped or not. So maybe you want to queue up some texts and not fire them until the vehicle stopped.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so you're saying that if you're connected to an ELD and the ELD knows that driver is stopped at a light or something like that it can basically wait, kind of like have a message in the outbox, if you will, to go out. And when that ELD says, hey, he's not moving, then you can fire the text off.
That's right.
Okay, I think that's dope. I'm not gonna lie. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, that's pretty sweet. I like that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of depth here. And right now, by just doing it kind of vanilla style, you're just kind of hoping and wishing that nothing goes wrong. And we think folks should be more proactive in that regard. Let's talk about the shipper experience. It's a bit neglected in our marketing, to be honest, because we talk about the driver experience so much. But the shipper experience, okay, you're at a brokerage and you're trying to sell shippers on why you're different, why you offer a better experience. And you probably have a slide about how you have this great, slick shipper portal. I'm sure it's slick. That's very good. But not every shipper is actually going to spend time logging into that thing to check on their shipment status and so on. We believe that shippers should be presented with a little texting experience where they could query it, kind of like a chatbot style, to say, hey, where's my shipment? It's like, oh, well, which one? This one, this one, this one, that one. Okay, well, that one, by querying the TMS, right, getting the information, then bringing it back to the shipper. Oh, well, that one's due at 1400 tomorrow. That is a quick way for shippers to get what they need without having to bother ops or go all the way into a portal. We think that's
so if they text a certain phone number that's in Vendorflow and ask about a shipment, it might present them with the 10 shipments that they have out with that broker. They can pick the one they want, get an update that's sent automatically via text from the TMS with either an update on the time or it's delayed or whatever, so that they can have that right away. And I would imagine also just prompts, just notifications as things change throughout the course of a shipment.
Yeah, shippers want to subscribe. Like, hey, I don't care about these shipments too much, but this is a hot load. I got to know what's going on. They can subscribe. So we want to enable this and help brokers differentiate themselves from other brokers and say, hey, we're offering really high quality shipper experience. And let's be clear, just to clarify one thing, Trey, we can enable the broker's existing phone numbers. So it's not like there's this magical separate Vendorflow phone number. No, it's your phone number.
You can go right into an existing phone number if you want to.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, then I'm gonna derail your showcase here for just a minute. Okay. So we're talking about texting, which is fast and it's great, but now we're talking about potentially using a driver's personal cell phone, a broker's personal cell phone, maybe a shipping manager's personal cell phone.
Sure.
What do you do about that? Does it keep a record of this somewhere? So like if you wanted to go back and audit communication that took place, let's say you fire somebody, you let them go in the middle of a shipment. Like, is there a way that they can go back and see what was communicated since it's on personal devices?
Yeah, well, one thing to clarify, it's on the driver's personal device, sure, but they're communicating with a shared inbox that has absolutely keeps records of all this audit trail that the team can all see at the brokerage, including, someone leaves or whatever the story may be. You always have a record, so you don't have to rely on he said, she said. You have records of what was said.
So a manager can always go in and just see the text thread that's in a database within Vendorflow.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Okay, all right, that's great.
And not too deep in a database. It's right there. You'll see as they go to the demo.
Sure. Cool.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll keep it rolling. Trucker experience. We touched on this already a little bit about how they prefer different channels. You want to keep it easy. Do you want to, constantly be like, hey, please use the app, please do this, please do that, or just make it as simple as possible? I need just this from you. Hit them over the channel they prefer. Bang, done. We think, especially when the market kind of turns and carriers start to have a little more relative power in the balance of things, that they're going to be demanding being reached on their channels. And we've seen stories of this. Again, a top 30 brokerage, I'll be intentionally vague. They were using, again, Telegram and WhatsApp and all that stuff. And leadership said, I'm not comfortable with this Telegram stuff because it's under the table, right? It's not visible what's going on. But then the carrier sales said, well, these are our relationships and this is what the carriers want. So are you saying we should not give the carriers what they want in this regard? Because we're going to lose some of those relationships. People are going to work with who's easy to work with. And we think that's a core concept.
You know what's interesting about that, Eric? We talk about relationships. I know in a relationship with a customer or a partner in the industry, I know it's solidified when we start texting each other.
Yeah,
that's when you know the relationship is getting good, is when text communication starts to occur. And so I think you're right about that. I think the relationship goes up. The quick text, hey, I know you're a Cowboys fan, dude. They killed the Giants, man. What do you think about Dak this year? Those types of quick little hitters can build that relationship pretty fast. So I think that's pretty smart to be thinking that way, because that really does build a relationship. It almost kind of signifies that there is a good relationship.
Yeah, I think so too. It makes me feel good too when I establish that level with folks. Like when we shot each other our first text, wasn't it sweet?
That's right. I know. It was a sweet moment between us. That's right.
That's right. Now, I'll be real quick on ops efficiency because I could monologue all day long on this topic, but that is, of course, the core premise here. It's how can ops spend less time on rote activities associated with texting. I'd rather show you than tell you, so I'm going to keep it rolling, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, omni-channel, let's keep it real. We've touched on this, but I'm talking about, in this iceberg, because we're still on the iceberg, right? There's all these different channels, Telegram, WhatsApp, so on and so forth. Okay, let's keep it rolling. AI and NLP, of course, is a big concept here. A lot of folks have these great aspirations about like, oh, wow, we could plug in AI with our TMS to sort of intelligently, negotiate rates or help them in the booking process or the appointment making process. Cool. But you need a medium by which that interaction happens. And we think texting is an excellent medium for those types of interactions. NLP, of course, as well, because people respond in different ways. You want to be able to interpret reasonable, Y versus yes versus C or something, right? That's all yes, and it should be able to understand that and reflect that back to the TMS. That's a concept as well that we enable. Chatbots, of course, as well, big concept. And you guys broadly get what chatbots are about. I'll keep it rolling because I'd rather just show you in the demo. Audit Trail is deeper in the iceberg. We'd almost gotten there, but we touched on that earlier, Trey. And language translation, that's more of a fun one. No surprise, the guy that was asking me about Kakao, the Korean app, was also asking me about translating Korean language. Fair point. Yep, I bet. So that's also a concept. We've gotten requests for Spanish language translation as well. So you have an operations team, and they don't all speak Spanish, and they definitely probably don't all speak Korean. But if you have a driver who does and is communicating in that manner, at least give some visibility into, well, what are they saying? A quick way to translate and understand what's going on. We think there's a value there as well.
Are you going to be using something like a Google Translate or some sort of third-party application to do that? Because like Google Translate has an infinite number of languages right now, it seems like. It's already built in and does a decent job. It's not great. My wife speaks Spanish, teaches Spanish. She goes, that's not perfect, but it's close, right? It's close enough. Is it going to be something like that?
Yeah, that's the standard. It'll probably be Google. I think there's another vendor or two that we're looking at for it. But basically something that's off the shelf in that nature. Just bring it into this experience for people. Because again, the vanilla stuff, RingCentral, Dialpad, and so on, they don't really go that deep into these different directions. And we do. We can help you get there. So that's really the point. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, very good. All right, keep going.
Moving, if I may. Well, and chapter 2, we're not going to get into this today, but voice is, of course, a big topic. And we're really interested in the concept of integrating text with voice to a higher standard as well. But
it better be better than the current Siri situation going on, because I use voice to text a lot. And man, it messes up a lot of the stuff that I say. I try to speak slowly, but it thinks that I spell my name TRE with an accent, no Y. That's weird. And the other thing I hate is when I'm talking to like a Lindsay. Like if I text the Lindsay and I got the name spelled, LINDSAY, it doesn't always put AY in the text. Like it sometimes spells it EY. I'm like, why can't it just look up and know that I'm talking to this Lindsay, and default to that? So hopefully it gets better than that.
No, of course. Well, that's of course one facet, but we're also just talking about literally call voice integration to make sure that these concepts are singing well together. We're optimistic that there's a lot of opportunity around that. But let's leave that for another day or another podcast, shall we say? I'll keep moving. I'm going to intentionally fly through this. I'll just invite people to kind of read it because I do want to get to the demo. But when we ask ourselves, what does a really great logistics texting look like? It's about reaching people where they are, lowest friction way, integrating
lower friction, absolutely. Everything should be.
Enabling these automations that we all talk about at these conferences. Well, we actually give, in the context of messaging automation, there's so much opportunity that we're really excited to bring to the market. Driver safety, of course, really important, and ultimately really boosting the operations experience. So let's get to that. That one rendered twice. So how do we differentiate ourselves against RingCentral, Google Voice, Dialpad? Well, we have these logistics-centric features like track and trace and e-signature and so on, and we integrate with TMS. That's the fastest way I can summarize that.
As of today, how many TMS integrations have you guys completed?
With a handful, certainly. I'd say like 3 to 4. Usually the way it looks is the customer gives us their API key. And then usually the story is something like this. Customer says, hey, when driver texts in images or documents, I want my ops team to be able to push that POD to shipment in TMS. That's a nice, simple one that we've been able to handle on a few occasions now, as well as same thing with GPS. Driver shares GPS over text, push to TMS. Those are some classics that are pretty straightforward for our
integrations are so critical with this. I remember when I was selling technology, that was the first question I asked was, what TMS are you on? Because it had to be integrated. So I know that's a critical component of this.
That's right. That's really what we're excited to bring to the market. Let's recognize, when we talk to our customers, there are ways you could dip your toe in with Vendorflow, and we can boost your RingCentral and your Dialpad to give you kind of some of these Vendorflow experiences. Or of course you could go full bore into Vendorflow, which we'll touch on. What does this look like? Just to give for, like in the movie where you don't reveal the monster. Well, let's reveal a little bit what we got going on. It's shared inbox texting, right? So this is for the operations experience. They're using this to do their texting. I'd rather spend more time on the real demo than a screenshot of it. So I'll keep it rolling. That's okay. A core concept that's really important with our customers. And I learned this from a sales perspective. Keep it simple. Start simply and improve the implementation thereafter. What do I mean by start simply? I mean, start simply by Usually it looks like this. Move aside your Google Voice, move aside your Ring Central texting in favor of Vendorflow to start. It comes with these classics like location tracking and document exchange and e-signature. It's a nice start. But then we advance further. Example, an automotive hauler said, we really love your all out of the box templates, but we do things a little differently in automotive. We need this flow where we got to take 5 pictures to make sure the condition of the car is good. Can you push that type of template to the driver so they can follow these steps? And it's like, yeah, we love this. We want to hear these stories from the market. It's not a big deal for us to tweak and change these templates for our customers to match the way they really do their logistics. Because there's no one way to do logistics. We know this. So we got to customize and configure for our customers, including adding channels that could be useful to them. And then it usually looks like this to say, okay, Vendorflow, we're off to a nice start. But what would be better is if we start to flow some of this data into our TMS. That's when it gets really interesting. And the tippy top is messaging automation to say, if this, then that. I want to automate from my TMS, whatever my business logic is, as the broker that is, to be firing these messages, capturing data, flowing it back in. That's really the top, the zenith, if you will. We have the APIs, we're ready for it, but we just recommend to keep it simple. So it's not this big project, keep it tight, start within a few weeks. And that's kind of how we're looking at this.
Love that. All right, well, let's take a look at, unless you got more slides, let's jump in and see what this thing looks like.
Yeah, let's roll into that. That's right. I like it. So let me drop out of this, go over here, minimize that. How are we looking? Can you see my?
Yep, we can see the cell phone version and the desktop. Yep.
Very good. I appreciate it. So here we are. We're looking at 2 different experiences, right? So one is the Vendorflow texting experience for operations team. Maybe they're carrier sales, maybe they're dispatcher, right? And then on the left, we have the device, which for the sake of simplicity, let's say it's the truck driver's device, but
Sure.
recommends, it could be a shipper, it could be a whole lot of different parties.
What's interesting, Eric, before you get started, it looks a lot like some other tools that I use for messaging. So I have a tool called Shift App, which puts all of my messaging kind of into one place. And so it's like a centralized location like that. It has groups, it has one-on-one, kind of like a Slack. It's all kind of put together like that. So it's something that people should be able to use pretty quickly. It seems like it's pretty intuitive.
Yeah, I appreciate the point. We are intentionally making this familiar. We don't want this to be this massive training thing where operations is like, what is this? No, it's the old familiar texting experience plus a little spice for logistics. That's what it is. And a really important point here, the driver doesn't have to change behavior at all. They're just texting with whatever number they were texting with before, which is your brokerage number, your dispatch line, your carrier sales line, whatever line you use, right? So that's an important concept. Driver doesn't install nothing or onboard or anything, nothing. Got to be low friction for the driver. So let's get into it. So as an operations rep, just to give you a brief overview, what's going on? We have these different contacts, right? Different drivers that we're communicating with. We're organizing them into different groups. Some of our customers like to do like night shift versus day shift. Others will do it by region or like, here's the reefer carriers, here's the drive-in.
Unlimited groups, I would imagine, right? You just make as many groups as you want, right? Yeah.
However you think about your business, we're not going to tell you how to run your business. We'll advise you a little bit on best practice, but otherwise, hey, there's a lot of ways to organize these things. So your team, you're organizing your stuff and you can follow these conversations, what pops up. You'll notice this alerts bit, and shame on me, I haven't been checking my texts, I guess. But the spirit of this is to say, you can set rules as a manager to say, hey, if our organization gets a new text and there's no acknowledgement within a couple minutes, raise the flag, or within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however they want to set it, raise the flag. So you guys can be better at service and responding to incoming requests and texts. So that's an important concept. And let's get to the fun stuff, though, which is these little shortcuts, right? So as an operations rep, I got my driver here. He's telling me that he's definitely totally close to pickup for this load that he's interested in. Okay, well, let's just verify that you're actually close to pickup before I tender this to you, right? So I'm going to send them a location request to Jose Aguilar, the truck driver, and Jose on his device here. He's getting this experience that is rendering here. Now this, we really enjoy. This is called an app clip, It's a micro app experience. You'll notice did not go to a web browser. It installed a little quick app for the driver to use. We think that's going to be a much better experience. It's going to unlock a lot of fun stuff.
They don't download it. It's just automatically kind of pops up through the texting platform.
That's right. Again, this is where we think the ball is going in this industry, to give people, to meet them kind of halfway, give them that rich experience without all the friction. We like to say it's all the great taste of an app without the calories, because they don't got to install it, no setup, no password, no
I like that
training.
analogy. That's easy to understand. I
Yeah,
like that.
there you go. Fellow marketing game recognized game. Very good. So what are we doing here? We're sharing location. So we'll give that a moment to kind of percolate through. But we're sharing location here. Location confirmed. Very good. It's coming into Vendorflow. Everyone sees where I live now. Uh-oh. I live in downtown Los Angeles. That's the answer. Now, it's cool that we got a map here, though, right? So on one level, well, I would bet you the audience is saying, oh, yeah, my Google Voice don't do that. My Ring Central doesn't do that. That's for sure. But let's go deeper. Let's go to the JSON view, which Ops isn't going to the JSON view, but it's important to show for a demo. We capture the latitude, longitude, right? And you'll notice if I scroll just a little, we are very thoughtfully structuring all of these messages. Why? Well, because we want to push this data into your TMS, your Revenova, your TIE, your Turbo, and so on. That's really why we're doing it. So that's one thing we're excited about. If I could cover a couple more quick flows. One is e-signature. So e-signature helped close the deal with a large drayage provider. They got, I think, more than 20 different terminals, sites with dispatch for both fleet and brokerage. So it's not just about brokerage, let's be clear. They were using Google Voice. And one challenge they were having is that for e-signature, they were having a hard time. They were blasting documents out to hundreds of carriers in regular intervals over email. And the carrier would then go, or often the driver would go to like Office Depot and print it, sign it with ink.
Oh, that's brutal. That's
yeah. Oh yeah. So that was
or they have to try to get into their email. They may
yeah.
not have a great connection, or they might just might not be very conducive to the phone they have. Who knows?
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of truck drivers aren't really email folks. They're usually more mobile texting folks. So absolutely. So as you can imagine, and it's one thing like, okay, good, I blasted out these 200 things, but now what? Well, so I have bad news for you. The 200 people aren't going to immediately do the thing. So now you got to track. Well, okay, so 50 did it quickly. That's good. That's done. But what about the other 100 or whatever, right? So we had this thing called the responses table. I won't spend too much time on it, but very briefly, it's a way to say, well, good, you blasted this stuff out, but who did the thing? Who signed the thing? Who shared their location? Who booked the load, right? You want to be able to track what actually happened after you send it out. Various filters, all this fun stuff. But I'll keep it rolling for the sake of the audience. Let's do this e-signature story, though, because I just kind of got halfway through it. So we sent an e-signature experience to the driver. They're going to pop that open. We have a couple pages to this document, so they can pinch and zoom and make sure they can see. Very good. Okay, page one.
And then again, this is another clip app that just pulls up the document. They can read it.
Incidentally, this one is web-based, but there's nothing that stops us from clipifying it, shall we say.
Sure.
So that's something we're excited about to make it even better for the driver. They'll share this. Recognize you could double dip in some of these workflows. Maybe you want an image and a location at the same moment to say this image, this transpired at this place at this time, right? So these are concepts that we can also kind of stack these concepts to give you a high degree of confidence behind these. So you saw that the driver signed it. Okay, very good. Now let's check it out. So we capture the document. We got our page one, we got our page two, and we appended page three, a signature certificate. And when you think about shopping for e-signature, it's important that it's not just a squiggly line. Squiggly line is nice, squiggly line is cute, but what matters is that we are authenticating this with a proper validation server to say, yeah, legit e-signature, defensible, all that good stuff. That's important. And again, we can flow this into your document management or your TMS or where. You tell me, where do you want it to go? That's our role here to help you not have this data siloed in your sleepy Ring Central, but actually go where it should end up, which is probably.
Is it currently potential? Can you drag and drop? Could somebody click on that and just drag it over to a file if they needed to?
You can drag and drop in. I'm not sure if you can drag and drop out, but it's straightforward enough to download, and it's a good tip. That might make things a little nicer for people.
I like drag and drop.
Yeah, no, don't we all? I mean, for the record, I dragged and dropped it in, but yeah, well taken. And a couple notes more. Maybe I'll spare you going through too many more. Do we have time for one more? Is that okay?
Yeah, but I definitely want to get to this one you just mentioned real quick, if possible, is the event kind of combination, because this is so powerful. If somebody can have a POD signature at a location at a time, coming together. I think that's powerful too, because the record of that could say, yeah, he sent it at this time. I got, this is when we got it. Like it just kind of closes the loop, if you will, on the event and what happened.
Agree. Well, let's do a variation of that. This one is called a seal integrity request. You can think of it for condition of a seal, or maybe just of a pallet, or for automotive hauling, for damage on the car. And it's like, great, you sent a picture where it's damaged or not, but when did the damage happen? Where did the damage happen? And you want to protect yourself from liability, especially if you didn't do it. So here we are. We sent them a seal condition request, but it's incidental. It's about a seal or damage or this or that. What matters is the only way for the driver to complete the flow is to take a fresh photo, a new photo. Don't send me a photo about how it was sealed 8 hours ago. Send me a photo that it's still sealed, right?
Right now. That's right. Yeah.
So here we go. So we'll take a picture of this Best Friends magazine. I don't know if you subscribe. It's a great publication. We'll fire that in. And, we got this here. So, and we can stack location and timestamp. The timestamp is passively implied in our audit trail, but soon we'll be watermarking a stamp on there, so it's even more clarity and confidence for the parties involved. So we think that's really important for the industry. So we're excited, and we can just mix and match, right? There's different little combos of ways logistics is done, and we can get in there and help out with it. So
yeah, and what's great about it is that this is really specific for the industry. RingCentral has no incentive to create this feature. Right. There's nothing that their broad user base would use that for, and so it's not going to happen. But with Vendorflow, it's in there already, which is great.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and hopefully this is answering the question: what does it look like to build a logistics-centric solution here? We also have broadcasting, so blasting out these experiences or announcements. Hey, there's safety training on Thursday, whatever it is. Or again, if you got that really nice matchmaking algorithm, you want to, by way of API, so your system would say, I want to fire a load offer to these 20 contacts. Okay, give us the 20 contacts in the API, right? And then we'll grab that, we'll push that experience off to the 20, separate text, of course. And whoever responds, or it can help you narrow the field. So the 5 that say not interested, cool, well, that saves your carrier sales team having to call those 5, because that was going to go nowhere anyway. So there's a lot of fun stuff we can do together. And we barely even scratched the surface of sort of the integration layer, but hopefully that gives you a decent introduction to what we're up to over here.
Yeah, it does. I love just seeing the features and seeing how it works, and just seeing the roadmap too of kind of where it's headed, because there's a lot of things that are possible, and it just takes a little time to build those and get them figured out. But love where it's headed in that regard, which is great. And being able to do more than one thing at a time, so like you said, send out a text message to 20 people at the same time. Individual text messages, that type of thing, just speeds it up. It's interesting because, Eric, what I'm hearing from brokers is this push to really ramp up revenue per head, or even loads per head, however you want to measure it, to say, what, it used to be if you could get to $1 million per head in your organization, you were doing really well. And now companies are like 2, 3, even one I've heard that's pushing for 5 million per head, which is ambitious today, but maybe 2 years from now, that's kind of a little more normal, or maybe a little bit more achievable for most people, for most brokers. So I think this type of workflow and this type of software is really helpful. And again, I keep going back to this idea of like texting is incredibly powerful. I think it's the way of the future, at least until something better comes along. It's kind of like email. Email was the way of the future to communicate until something better came along, and then now we have text. And I'm sure we're going to get some newer stuff that comes down the road soon as well. I want to say this before we get any further. For anybody who's watching this, whether it's right now live or on demand, if you have a question or a comment, be sure to put it in there, and be sure to tag Eric or myself. That way we'll get a notification on LinkedIn or Facebook, wherever you're watching it today, so that we can answer your question and get back to you on that. So throw in a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like it, if you're interested in learning more about it, if you have a question, just be sure to tag us, whether it's live or on demand. We'll get that notification either way, and that'll be really helpful, which is great. All right, so Eric, I'm going to give you the final word on this. Like, what's the last thing that you would want to say to people as you think about this? As you think about what you guys are doing, and you think about where where the industry is heading. What's kind of your final words to everybody before we close up shop today?
Final words are, logistics industry, it's time for a solution for you for texting. It's time to drop the generic in favor of something that really meets your needs, your intricacies, your automation desires, your path toward 5 million per head, or whatever you said earlier. That's the big opportunity, and we want to partner with folks on that journey.
What's the best way for somebody to reach out to you and or Vendorflow to get a demo, or to ask questions or learn more about it?
I'll make two plugs, if I may. One, our LinkedIn page is the main way that we kind of announce stuff. And that's, if you want to follow us, follow our LinkedIn page. That's where that action goes down. If you want to contact us, I'm Eric at vendorflow.co.co. And vendorflow.co, of course, is our website. So a couple approaches there. But yeah, we typically set up like a 20-minute discovery call, learn about what's going on in your world, usually varies, and we work there together to find a good solution for you.
That's awesome. And now, are you going to be hitting the trade show circuit at all this fall? Am I going to see you out on the road?
I sure hope so. I'll be at the TIA Technovations. I think that's
beautiful.
October.
You guys are on. You're in the Shark Tank competition.
I'll be deep in the Shark Tank.
Yes, that's right.
And with some excellent other startups who we're excited to present alongside. It's going to be a lot of fun. I get to brush off some.
Let me tell you,
yeah,
that was the spotlight and the highlight of Technovations last year. It was big.
Oh yeah,
So,
I mean, I think Green Screens and Highway in particular did super well, and I agree. Like they deserved it to win.
Industrial Insights did great too. I mean, it was great to see everybody out there. Yeah, they did a good job.
Agree. So no, we're excited to be out there and alongside companies of that caliber. I'm honored, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
But so Technovations,
and yeah, also FreightWaves in Chattanooga. So I'll be there. I'm probably going to add a day or two for myself just to get in those woods. They look very inviting. So get a little hike going or something, you know, that'd be real nice. And more local to me, but there's a California trucking show. I'll probably just pop by. That's in Riverside or Ontario, California. But yeah, that's most of it for the rest of the year.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, Eric, listen, man, we really appreciate you coming on the show today, showing us what you're doing for the industry, how it's impacting freight brokers out there. And we look forward to seeing, this evolve and get better and better as it goes along, man. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks so much, Trey. Really appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show today, for watching. Please go to Vendorflow.co, check out what they're doing, follow their LinkedIn page, send Eric an email, find out more about how you're investing. So critical. That's the way I love to communicate. I'm sure most of you do as well. So that's good. And also, don't forget to come back tomorrow, Thursday, standing out at 2 p.m. Central. It's going to be a great show with Steven Spires. About that. And then, of course, on Friday, finish on Friday, we got Word on the Street at noon Central. The bodacious cowboy, Jeff Dickinson, is doing the Ice Bucket Challenge live away from me for us. It's going to be a great show. Have a lot of fun on that as well. And then we'll get you right into the weekend. So until next time, thanks so much for watching The Edge, sponsored by the Monero Group. Make sure you check them out if you're looking to recruit people and need some help about things amazing. Go to monerogroup.com. Great team in technology recruiting, simplified. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Take care.